Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Just fine. How was life?
Life is life, just
Yeah.
happy to be here, but work is work.
Uh,
Work is work. To get in the room. So working on the other side, education in a sense, making sure that foster children stay in school. It's been a lot, especially with it being the beginning of the school year. So trying to get all these kids registered into school, into their appropriate grades, transferring schools.
yeah.
It's been busy, but hopefully it'll kind of slow down after the first 2 weeks.
I see. You're gonna tell me this story?
Yes, so I'm gonna tell you a story, right?
Yeah.
And it's a real life story. So, trigger warning, it does include sexual assault against children. So this is a trigger warning. So please view at your own discretion. I know we've kind of talked about this topic before, and I kind of want to, talk about it just a little bit more before we wrap up this section and move on to another topic. I know before we were discussing future ideas that we coach special education in
Yeah.
the schools.
Yeah.
And as I said before, like the resources are there. It's just how in the world do you access those resources and like what signs to look out for? I'm not a doctor, but yeah, so these are things, ideas that we've been thinking about that we want to bring to
Yeah. Cell phones is gonna be huge. Huge
Wait.
right out in New York. I had my friend coming up to me because I was like, well, how would you be against cell phones in classrooms? We're going to do this, but we're going to discuss it in detail. I'm trying to bring, if I can, it's really difficult, but I'm trying to bring a teacher who may have a different view. I don't want to have a different view, but like our teacher has a different view who may have a different view about cell phones in the class. Yes. But it, those discussions and other things.
Yeah.
So we're not just going to be talking about. The other thing is please like, share, and subscribe. We had a lot of people who watched our videos, but only 10 people subscribe. And I would like to see subscribe. By the way, you can subscribe and never watch us. You can. Yes, I'm done. Because the reason why this helps is in the long run, we can bring more of this material. And also, we want to this is free education from an experience, but I can ask the questions I would have loved to ask when my niece was in school. I would have loved to ask some of these questions. And now I even have nephews who are one is in middle school, another one is in elementary school. And I really want to ask very important questions about how they navigate the education system and how they can basically, what kind of questions we can ask, how we can sport. Even the essay topic, one reason why we discuss this topic is because most people don't know how to spot this. They find out when it's either too late, and even then they don't know how to approach it. And so just having an idea that there might be cases out there. So for example, it's not always that most cases when a child is meeting a teacher that's not taking appropriate 99% of the cases. Right. But is that 0.5% or 1%, which might be a case of oops, something might be going on. So ask them, hey, why are you meeting your teacher? How can you be meeting your teacher at a bar? No, we can't be meeting. I don't care whether she's your teacher, but just because she's a woman does not mean that it's nothing. So always pro. Hey, why are you meeting your teacher?
Yeah, and I also want to emphasize like this has nothing to do with like sexism or anything. This is just to bring awareness on the importance of understanding that it's not just men or male teachers or male figures like coaches or whatever that prey upon adolescents, but there's a growing number of female teachers who are doing the preying.
Yeah, there was a comment on our section saying it's very rare that women do. And I said, but what you forget is that it's not necessarily as few as people think it is. Right. I'll give an example, off topic. Domestic violence. A lot of people think domestic violence is like males 98% or something like that, and then 2% women. Like, no, it's like 25%, 30% of domestic violence abuse is done by women or men. Don't women or women. Women or men.
Right.
Wait, 20, so you're like, really? And you can Google it. Really, that's how much. And actually, I'm thinking it's more because most men are embarrassed to report. And so, because other men will laugh at them. And there are cases. And yes, there was a man who was talking about struggling going into a shelter. Now, it's not the topic that we deal with. But my point, something that friends who work in the domestic violence issues, and you do the research. I was thinking like, oh, it has to be like 1%. No. And so it's the same thing with SA
With
in children and stuff. We tend to think, oh, probably 98%, 99% men. No. Yes, there are more men than women. That should be acknowledged.
Yeah.
But it's not as low as you think it is.
Right. Yeah. So talking about statistics, right?
Yes.
So according to Psychology Today,
Yes.
right, 89.1% of perpetrators of educator sexual misconduct are men, right?
Mm.
And then 72% of those who were preyed upon were females in high school. Okay? And this is according to men. When it comes to women, it's about 30%, but it's rising,
Yeah.
right? So, let alone like only in 2023,
Yeah.
last school year,
Yeah.
and this is all that's been reported. We don't know the actual specific numbers. So, it's about 25 female teachers have preyed upon younger boys, right? In 16 different states. That's across, sure, almost like half of the US, a little bit less than half of the US.
Yeah. And the other thing is, let me tell you something, right? Now, this never happened in the kitchen. Nothing happened. But I do remember when I was young, and there was a teacher who was like, not related to me in any way. He was just my teacher. So there was a teacher who I used to go to her place. It was me and a friend of mine would go there. And sometimes it would be just me and her alone at her house. No kidding. It was like literally, we used to live right across the street. And it was like 2 houses away. He knew my mom. But like, it was like really, and I would go there and we would have discussions. She would even cook food. There was nothing inappropriate. I promise you, she didn't do anything.
Okay.
I promise.
believe you. I
Yeah,
believe you.
but it was just like, okay. And sometimes she would beat my friend. And it's just like, okay. And nobody was suspicious. So for me, there's nothing that happened. But no, the fact that nobody was suspicious, that's the issue
Yeah.
that I have there. It's not a question of, oh, you can meet, of course, you can meet your teachers, but meet your teacher, she's alone, at her home, with nobody else there.
Yeah. But,
Think of it.
but you're not going to find that suspicious
Yes.
with female teachers, right?
Yes.
But sometimes I would not go to my teacher.
Yes, but if you went to your male teacher house,
Oh, thank
I'm pretty sure your dad or mom would have been like, what?
First of all, they would let me go.
But if they found out you went there, that would be hell to pay.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so it's sort of weird that, when it's a woman,
Yeah.
then people act differently. And I think what we should learn is we should always be asking questions when it's kind of, unless it's within a school setting or a setting with a controlled environment, be very suspicious as to what's going on. Hey, what's happening? Doesn't mean that you should rush to conclusion, but ask questions. Follow up, do a little bit of research, make sure everything's all right.
So, talking about research,
Yeah.
I want to start with a movie that I watched recently.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about where do we really draw the line, right? because teacher misconduct is something that's it's profound. It's big. Like we talked in the last video about, crossing the lines of doing here, for example. Yeah. Right? But, we're gonna build upon it. Yeah. But where do teachers draw a line? Where should the line be drawn? It should just be teacher, student. Yeah. Like, back in the day. But so I was watching this movie and I wanna say John Cena starred in this movie as a male teacher. He was a male chemist teacher, right? Yeah. So he's that cool teacher in the classroom. The kids come in as high school. They come in and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's really cool." At first, it's just like this teacher, big and buff. But then he did like an experiment that kind of broke the ice with all the students in him. Yeah. And so showed like how fun he was. And I guess like there's a scene where some students asked him like, "Hey, mister, are you gonna come to the party?" He's like, "No, no, no. I'm gonna let you guys handle that. That's your party. I'm the cool." No, I think he said like, "I'm the teacher," something like that. So there's this big party that they have. Okay, so then all the kids want to go to this, popular kid in school. They want to go to this party. So all the kids are there. They're partying, and who shows up? The teacher shows up, right? So he shows up and, he's just like, "I'm just here, basically acting like he's a chaperone for this underage party." And so out of nowhere, he's like, "Hey, let's do an experiment." And the experiment that he did was like a bomb. Okay. And he's showing them how to smoke marijuana through this bomb. And he was like, "Hey, but you know what? I'm just a teacher. I cannot partake, but you guys have fun." But you know that he also did what he did with that bomb. Yeah. And then there's another part or another scene where he's drinking or he's showing them an experiment with like mixing alcohol and making like some type of drink and he's drinking with them. Now he's drinking with them. Now he's completely intoxicated. Now he's in the pool with them. Yeah. And he's just like, "Yeah, I'm the teacher," like all this stuff. And it's like, hold on, but you're a high school teacher. Yeah. With children who are 18 and under. Mm-hmm. This is completely inappropriate. Completely, he ends up getting electrocuted inside the pool, it was funny. It was a really, really funny movie. But the thing is, you are an educator. Yeah. That should have never happened, right? And yes, it's a funny movie, but it still relates to certain things that teachers do with students today. Completely, he ends up getting electrocuted inside the pool, it was funny. It was a really, really funny movie. But the thing is, you are an educator. Yeah. That should have never happened, right? And yes, it's a funny movie, but it still relates to certain things that teachers do with students today. So I didn't know that teachers do that. Well, I'm going to tell you about a teacher who, in a sense, did that with one of her students. So this teacher is 24. I'm going to really name names because I don't want to she's in jail, but I'm not going to say her name. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sometimes I think that for names not to be said, right? People can always. I'm pretty sure if you put 24-year-old teacher arrested, you will find that name information. Yeah. But she was 24. Yeah. And she was arrested for sexual misconduct with a student. Now, here's how it happened. So I guess she had taught that student a subject. I think the subject might have been history. Don't quote me. But she taught a student the subject the school year before. During the summer, I guess you went through a breakup and you was having some mental health issues because she was depressed and she was off her depression medication. Okay. And it's like, yes, mental health does play a role, but come on, you're 24, he's 15. So I guess she started off by like sending him pictures and like videos and nude pictures of her boobies and stuff like that. And of course, young boys, "Oh my gosh, look at this thing." That's crazy though. Like a kid. Yeah. So the little boy also was bragging to his friends about the teacher. And of course, I hate to say it, but he's a male student and it's just like, "Oh, look at me, I got my teacher," like, oh, but that's still sexual assault. He's a minor. Yeah. Right? That's on the implication. I do know that boy, because I was a boy at one point, and I know we would brag usually lies. I'm going to say lies, make up stories about some lady or some woman who you like or you imagine in your head. So yeah,
we are aware of that.
Yes.
So it's
Mhm.
so it's not surprising that he was bragging.
Right, exactly. Like I've had you know, I've had a student who like, hey miss, like you look sexy AF. Little boy, who are you talking to? I'm not your friend. I'm old enough to be your mother. You're not talking to me like that.
Yeah.
No, that's completely inappropriate. And after that beautiful conversation that we had, he realized I'm not gonna mess with her. Because you're not. You're a child.
Yeah.
But anyways, this lady, this teacher, she was also caught smoking marijuana in the backseat of her car with this student. And to make matters worse, right? You are 24 years old and you live by yourself. Not to justify her behavior in any way, but you end up going to this boy's friend's house to have these relations with each other.
Yeah.
You have a house, you have your own apartment, but you go to another minor's house. And where were the parents? Time parents are working. Like, so you go to his house to have these relations, and now here the following school year, and boy's friend went to the administration and let them know like this is what's happening because obviously he knew that it was wrong. That's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
So he told the appropriate people,
Yeah.
and of course he got fired, of course, and she got arrested for sexual assault.
Yeah.
So initially the judge had wanted to, put her in jail for 20 years.
Yeah.
But because, anyways, she was found guilty. She had to serve, well, she's serving 8 years. This happened. But she was actually charged with improper relationship with a child and not sexual assault, which means that she did not have to register as a sex offender.
Yeah, it's the judicial system can be tricky because I do think technically they should have charged her with because she was sending child. I guess I can understand how the defense lawyer got around that because probably what happened is a child didn't confess, and probably normally they don't reveal most of the things about the child. Yeah, so that people don't know who this child is. So I do think so what I do think would have happened probably, and it's just my speculate, is that when you send inappropriate pictures to a minor, that is different from criminally speaking. Still criminal offense, but that's different from an actual essay. So I think that's what happened. But they actually did. Yes, but they actually did it too. But the question is, can it be proven in court without, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like beyond reasonable doubt. So we can prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was inappropriate material shared between by an adult to a minor. That it was sent by a minor and it was not an accidental thing. It was deliberate because there was a lot of it that was sent out. Mm-hmm. So that can be proven. And we can prove that she had an appropriate relationship with the minor because she went to his house, obviously. But you can't prove that they actually did something. Well, I don't know, but I will tell you, her family was not happy with the sentencing. I personally felt like she should have gotten more time, but the family was quite disappointed with the sentencing. Like, how can you be disappointed? She ended up confessing to it. So what did the family want? Whose family? Her family. What did that family want? I don't know what they really wanted because it didn't go into great detail, but they were disappointed with the ruling. Yeah, they wanted less of a sentence. They wanted less of a sentence. They're like, she was depressed, like she's getting better, she understands what she did, okay. And she's gonna understand what she did behind bars. Yeah, I do think that obviously, I mean there are some obvious things. Like sending inappropriate material to a minor is so obvious. Yeah. There's no way around it. It's one thing if there was no inappropriate material sent, and then they found her at the friend's house. Yeah, she would still be fine for it, but you can't prove anything there. But on the phone, we have inappropriate material being shared. Right. Obviously. I think she sent them to like 20 different kids.
her shirt off and bra off, like it showed all her stuff to like 20 kids. But she only had relations with one child, and she has two kids of her own, two biological children. But she had relations, and I mean, she was like 37. You have married teachers who do the same. But now, just to kind of spice things up, right? I don't know if it's spicy, it's still weird. But what about teachers who have OnlyFans and their children or their students end up stumbling upon
Oh
their
yeah, the teacher in
OnlyFans?
California, in California, who lost, I think he's made in a month at one point. Yeah, and the two of them came from the same school. I think it's really amazing, crazy. Students or parents stumble across their side hustle because it's a side hustle. I treat that differently. Yeah. I personally think that you shouldn't be fired. I mean, I think that one of them did quit. And here's the reason why. It's something that he's doing. He's not advertising that to children. It's for parents to make sure that their kids are not watching anything inappropriate. It's not for her. Whatever she does on the side is a business. If she works in a strip club, that's her business. There's nothing that we as a society have a say. If you want teachers not to do that, I'll tell you what you should do. Pay them $150,000 a year. Okay? Pay them $150,000 a year. And then say in the contract, you are not allowed to do these things, and we'll pay you $150,000 a year. Especially she lives in what? She lives in San Diego, I think, California. You know how expensive San Diego is. And these teachers are making like $50,000 sometimes a year. Hey, you know? I lived in Los Angeles myself, and I was making about that. And Los Angeles is so expensive, so pricey. So yes, I mean, I wasn't shaking my tail for that. I wasn't doing none of that. But I understand why teachers have to do what they have to do because you don't make a livable wage in a lot of states like California, where rent is almost $3,000, and you're making 50K a year. Yeah, it doesn't balance out. I don't blame the teacher to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this on the side. She's not doing it with students. She's going on the side. It's a side hustle. She's an adult. It's legal. Nothing illegal about it. It's she's not advertising it to a classroom. If they happen to see it, you know what? Whose fault that is? Parents' fault. And that just shows that the student is really, really, first of all, on a website that they shouldn't be on. Yeah. And where the heck are they getting this money to pay for these subscriptions? Exactly. Because these things you gotta subscribe to get access to it normally. Yeah. And you're just gonna get access. It's not free. It's not free, especially on OnlyFans. And so these people are just there advertising, and you're like, yeah, we saw that's inappropriate. How did you see that, man? Right. Excuse me. But then it's also like the parents who might stumble across it. Parents. Too bad. Who might stumble across it, and then they bring it to the Board of Education. It's like, this is inappropriate, but once again, this is someone who's trying to make sure that they can survive in this crazy economy, right? Yeah. So should they be fired? And you know what? People may come after me for it. No, you pay teachers well if you don't want them to do that kind of a job. You can't be paying. Pay them like Congress people. Here's the thing, teachers, we are not on the clock. Okay. We do not. It's not 24-hour access to an educator. You clock in at 7:30. You clock out at 3:30. I'm no longer your teacher. I am Miss Whoever. No, I'm going by my first name once I leave this parking lot. Right? Have my life. So that's like telling a nurse, "Oh, that's inappropriate." Yeah. This not patient. Oh, you are involved in the PRN industry, so we're gonna fire you. Really? She's been telling lies, and you're gonna fire her? Really? That's what kind of educating people. That's nonsense. I'm sorry. That is ridiculous, and that's what I call puritanical thinking. It's really, really, it's puritanical and moral panics for no reason at all. Your teacher, that's different from what we were talking about previously, which is essay, obvious essay. This is a situation where a teacher says, you know what, I tell you what, it's a very simple solution to this. Pay the teachers $150,000 a year, and then tell them to sign a thing that they
And
want to
maybe
do
it's
it.
because a lot of students in the classroom, it's
Yeah,
very difficult to deal 20 something different personalities
yeah,
at one time as one person.
yeah.
And you're only getting paid what?
You know what? I'm for that. Pay people $150,000 and then tell them they cannot do that. Have them sign a thing after you're paying them $150,000. You live a good life and you have nothing to complain about. Now do your job properly. You know?
And don't be showing your students your videos.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a very simple thing. Let them get paid enough. Don't come back. Don't be saying, "Oh, this is so inappropriate. How could a teacher do this?"
Because she's human and she has a life outside of teaching her children.
Yeah, no.
That's it. But I mean, like, it's such a touchy subject because it's like, well, what happens when kids do get their hands on it? Once again, that's what you have parental control for. But it's true, teachers need to get paid more. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot to deal with every single day, right?
Yeah.
Teachers do it because they love it. People are like, well, they love it, whatever. Yes, they do love it. They would also love to get paid what it is that they're doing every single day. You have people who sit at a desk and do absolutely nothing and just twiddle their thumbs and twirl around in their seat for 8 hours out of the day, and they're getting paid $200K.
I do remember in the UK, there was a guy, he was a guy, and he was involved in the PRN industry, and I think they ended up letting him go. But I think it's so popular. A lot of people supported him. A lot of parents actually supported him.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were like, yeah, but I think part of the reason why they supported it is because they thought to themselves, he's not getting paid enough. Why should he have to go through all that? So only like some feel like super religious and sort of people are like, oh my God, how could he do this? Most people supported him. Only like some feel like super religious and sort of people are like, oh my God, how could he do this? Most people supported him. I do remember that story like yesterday. I think it was around 2010, 11. Yeah, around that time. And I do remember the story like yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I like this teacher. Like, and he was also well spoken, very nice. And people, loved him. I don't think he went back into, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think they let him go. They told him he had to choose either he had to stop that or he has to keep going to class. And he said, look, I'm done with the teaching. And
And it's sad.
you can't, that's not how it should work. So it's like, oh no, the teacher should not be doing that. It's inappropriate. You should be an example. An example for what? An example as to how to slave for wages?
Yes, an example.
No, not even, what are you talking about? Like, you know what? Pay a teacher enough. I have nothing to say. If you want to do that, you want those restrictions, there's a price for everything. Don't put restrictions. Yeah, where I work, we deal with a lot of private information. And how much paperwork you have to sign depends on your position. So if you're like really high up, you're gonna have to sign this thick of paperwork. You're getting paid a lot of money. You're getting paid like six figures, maybe about almost mid six figures. And so you're signing this much paperwork. Compared to some of us not making middle income. I'm not signing that much paper. I'm like, here you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I'm not going to commit a crime on the premises. I promise. Don't me. Like in this podcast, there are people who have to sign so much paperwork that this podcast that we're doing right now, they have to report everything they're saying, and it has to be evaluated by the somebody to make sure that everything is okay. Not me. I can do it. Oh, you don't want me to do that? Pay me twice as much as you pay me now. Don't tell me to not to do something, and then you're paying me measly wage. Don't do that. That's no.
So yeah, so for teachers who decide to have a side hustle, I feel like it's okay. Mind your business. Mind the business that pays you because these teachers need to make.
Yeah, there was
people in social media who deal with.
Yeah, there was a pushback on one case. I mean, a lot of cases, most all the cases, they didn't do anything. But I think one case, she had one picture where it was after class, everybody was gone, and it was that. Yeah, that could get you fired. That's fireable. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Exactly. Yeah, you have to be fired for that. Now, yeah, the teacher I was talking about, the one who made $1 million, that
Yeah.
didn't never happen in the premises. She did it from home. In fact, she tried to cover her face up. Students wouldn't know who it was, but I think somebody recognized the fight as tattoos. And by the way, she was with her husband. So this was like her and her husband co-owned it. He was like, these people are, you people are so curious.
Because let me tell you something. Students, a lot of children, they want to know what in the world do you do.
Yeah.
I remember like the students were like, "Oh, miss, like, do you sleep here? Do you stay here?" I'm like, "No, I have a life outside of this." Right? I was like, I have kids who used to have students find me on Facebook, social media, and I'm like, I will not accept your friend request until we're no longer in the same school building. Because they are so like they're so curious to see what do you do outside of school.
Yeah.
What's your life outside of school? So I'm sure it's like hunting and typing names and whatever. Then they saw something like, oh, there's Miss So and So. Click on it. Oh, there's Miss So and So.
Yeah, if you're under, I'll put it this way. If you're under, like, you're not an adult and you try to befriend me, unless my relative ain't interested. It's like, you have to be my relative, period. Like, oh, this is my nephew, my niece, or whatever. Otherwise, no, I ain't interested. And people say, oh, Chindi, why? I'm like, nope, I'm not interested. I would delete that. I'm like, nope, we're not gonna be friends.
Yeah.
Now on Instagram, it's a little hard because they can follow you unless you block somebody. But I don't have anything on Instagram that's anything out there, so I don't care. And I would not respond like, hey,
So because I Facebook, but because I'm such a private person,
yeah,
they're on a, like they can only see certain things. But also, I don't post a lot on Facebook.
I,
I really don't. I don't post a lot.
and you know what? You don't have anything that's with that with. I tell you, I have a friend of mine. She's a teacher,
Mhm.
and I was looking at some of the pictures. I'm like, do you? And I'm looking at the pictures. She's doing all these parties, and I'm like, I hope that you bring the students. I said, because if the students see this is just like,
If I have a student who will trace back to the college days,
yeah,
it's the first thing, right? Like they're like, oh, Miss Wong, that's how you were. Like, don't worry about that. But once again, I have them at a like your restricted age.
yeah.
And then you have a few Instagrams, like the business Instagram and personal. Personal one, you can find me, but you have to request for me to add you because it's blocked. Like you have to request and I have to accept it. So they tried deny my business because I only post business stuff. I'll accept it. Go ahead. Go ahead because you're just gonna whatever. That's also how I communicate with some of my old. I tell them to keep their tail in school and stop texting me while they're in school and pay attention. Or sometimes I just completely ignore it until like later on, for specifically on the weekend because I don't want to interrupt. 'Cause I know how it was being a teacher. We talk about
People flying people with cell phones. Like, I don't want why are you telling me to use cell phones? Oh, yeah, people are extremely upset. But,
But yeah, so this conversation was great.
yeah,
We talk about cell phones next. I know that
yeah.
would be a huge topic. We hope you do get a chance to
Yeah, I'm hoping that, I'm trying to get my friend to come in who is opposed to it, but if she doesn't, I'm trying to find a teacher who's opposed to a policy of banning cell phones, like in classrooms, because most teachers support banning cell phones, and I've not seen a single teacher who does not. But who knows? Fine. I really would like to know why they would be supporting the idea. That's what they're talking about. No cell phones on the corridors or outside. Although there are schools that are saying you cannot have cell phones throughout the day. You have to put it in a Yoda or something, Yonda or something like that. A Yonda pouch, yeah. Until the end of the
peek before we wrap this up because we don't want to give away too much. Right? But I will say, my last year teaching was the first year that they rolled out than the school that I worked at.
Oh, yeah.
So I will definitely be able to tell you the pros and cons. to this yarn pouch.
Yeah.
And if it actually worked or if it didn't work. And,
Yeah, I have a feeling with the jailbreak,
well,
the
you'll
pouch
until I tell you.
feeling. Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you all for watching. And yeah, we just need to clarify this and we spoke about a lot of things. So just remember, we have spoken about the case of the teacher, inappropriate behavior in school, the movie by John Cena.
And don't forget, I didn't mention this
Yeah,
in the case that I was talking about,
yeah,
but just because the teacher, that 24-year-old teacher,
yeah.
just because she didn't register as a sex offender, she still had to just write a scarlet letter or produce, I don't know, but scarlet letter. So I don't remember what the definition of scarlet letter
Yeah.
is. Put it right here. Maybe you can put it on my hand.
And we're also going to, and also remember we had a discussion about teachers who do appropriate things, don't do anything wrong in school, but they're involved in either OnlyFans or other forms of PRN and legal, which is legal. And so how do we react? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.